There are close to 300,000 farmers in Canada, and new technologies like drones, GPS trackers, sensors, and even driverless tractors are shaping the way farms will be run in the future. But according to Stats Canada, a survey from 2011, less than half of Canadian farmers have access to high-speed internet. So just how can a farmer succeed in this day and age without the World Wide Web? Joining me now in studio is a farmer, Mark Brock, the chair of Grain Farmers of Canada, and Helen Hambly, an associate professor at the School of Environmental Design and Rural Development at the University of Guelph. Helen, that is a mouthful. Okay, so I want to start with you, Mark, because I want to ask, how long have you had internet, high-speed internet on your farm, and what would you do without it?
Well, we've been very fortunate to have internet in our area, but there's neighbors in other areas around the province that don't have that same good fortune I do. So without it, I wouldn't be able to binge watch Netflix, but we use a lot of that stuff to do data analysis and move data around. So it's a pretty important part of our business now.
Let's drill down a little bit into what that means, data analysis, because people look at these pictures behind us and they see, oh, it's the land, it's nature, it's back to the earth, but it's a high-tech business now.
It's very high tech. We have so much technology in our tractors. I think some people comment it's more advanced than the space shuttle at one point. But you know, it's compact. It's like iPads people carry around. We have those in our tractors now doing things for us, and it's amazing what we can do with these things now. And it's a pretty steep learning curve, but it's happening fast.
Helen, I suppose a lot of people would say, you know, the technology of the past was fine for the past. Why wouldn't it be okay today? Why do we need to have a wired farm?
Well, the wired farm is the farm of the future, and right now agriculture contributes about $100 billion to the Canadian economy every year, and we can only see that going up through the adoption of these new technologies. There's efficiency gains, but there's also productivity gains. There's gains for the natural environment, saving on energy, saving on water, and of course reducing the risk. Agriculture is a risky business for farmers. So
talk to me about that. Does it include, does technology, is there a direct line between adopting certain technologies and, say, improving yields?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Like on my own farm, we're actually using maybe a little bit more fertilizer, but we're actually targeting the areas where we put the extra fertilizer to get more yield. So we're being very efficient, effective, and our impact on the environment is a lot lower than it has been historically because we're able to target these products to where they need to be.
Is that where the drone comes in?
Well, the drone's just fun, but you know, we're using it to look at, you know, the greenness of our corn or the health of our corn, so we can make good management decisions around that, whether we should spray or not spray. So it just we tend to take technology and adapt it for the farm, and we like to innovate that way.
And you know, you can't manage what you can't measure.
Right.
So it's really important that we look at the data and the analytics that are required in agriculture these days, but also invest in the underlying infrastructure. If you don't have ultra high speed or high speed internet in rural areas, a lot of these technologies are not going to function properly.
But we just said at the top that there are so many farmers in Canada that simply don't have access to sort of the basic technology of high speed internet. So how do we help them?
We just finished a study at the University of Guelph with Agriculture Agri-Food Canada. 37% did not have access to more than 5 megabits per second of internet speed. That's enough to do email, can't stream video, certainly can't do much more on the cloud with anything at that speed. So we've got to change the situation. There's important investments going on in southwestern Ontario, for instance, the SWIFT network. Across Canada, rural communities are lobbying for improved broadband, and fortunately the federal government has recently been reinvigorating its work around this area as well. So we should see some future investments for agriculture and for rural communities.
Mark, you're an early adopter in sort of this world. Are your fellow farmers around you, do they look to see what you're doing before adopting the technology? Are they risk averse, or are they excited about this future?
They like to see the mistakes I make, and hopefully they don't make them. But you know, people are we support each other, and as someone advances and does something, we all kind of say, oh, that works, so we adopt that technology. But you know, I think there's so much that we can do with you know, helping the consumer understand what we do on our farm from a production standpoint, that as we see some of these technologies and that they're not as painful as they might seem to look, we can really adopt them to farms and you know, really rely on the internet to move some of this data around to help us be more efficient on the farm.
Helen, lastly, just a very short question, a short answer, please. Yeah. Are you optimistic for the future of farming in Canada?
Absolutely, and it's going to come with the young farmers who are really IT savvy, new generation of farmers. It's exciting.
Well, thank you, Mark. Thank you, Helen. We appreciate your time today.